Hello, everyone, and welcome to the OnlyLandFans show. My name is Kendall Lejeune, and our guest today is Gene Eidelman. From developing multifamily projects to revolutionizing the construction industry with 3D printed homes, Gene Eidelman's journey in real estate is marked by innovation and impact. After immigrating to the U.S. from Ukraine, Gene quickly made a name for himself, developing over 3,000 condominiums and apartments in Southern California and across the southeastern United States. His entrepreneurial spirit didn't stop there. He successfully launched 2 education startups before co-founding Azure Printed Homes in 2022. At Azure, Gene and his team are breaking new ground with a patented 3D printing process that constructs entire structures from recycled polymers. This eco-friendly method is not only 70% faster, but also 30% cheaper than traditional construction, revolutionizing how we think about building homes. Since May 2023, Azure Printed Homes has been delivering units ranging from backyard studios and park models for glamping resorts and RV parks to ADUs and homes, with a focus on sustainable, affordable housing for all. Gene's commitment to making a difference extends beyond real estate. He has been recognized for his efforts in resettling 6,000 refugees from Eastern Europe and has appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show to discuss his refugee resettlement work. Gene is a sought-after speaker and thought leader in the real estate industry. On April 27, 2024, he delivered a TED Talk at TEDx Wilmington on the future of housing. His work is paving the way for a future where sustainable and affordable housing is accessible to everyone. Gene, thanks so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you? Great to meet you and all of your guests.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. I am doing fantastic. I'm so glad to have you on the show. We're part of a mastermind together. And when I heard what types of work you're doing, I said, I've got to have Gene on the show. That way he can give us all of the incredible information that he's doing and sharing that with the audience. So, Gene,
Sure.
let's jump right in. Can you tell us, how did you get involved in 3D printing homes?
And I just wanted to tell you, Kendall, I was very impressed with the work you're doing. And I really was excited to meet you because in my mind, people who flip land need to understand about our solution. Today is not a sales pitch, but it's just a tool that the land buyers and flippers can use to increase value of their home real quick. So anyway, back to your
Absolutely.
question.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I've been developing apartments and condos for quite a while, did a couple education ventures that also involve building buildings for educational facilities, preschools before and then charter schools later. Actually, one of them was in Austin. I still drive by there, and one of my centers was my name on it. So
Very cool.
next
I
time I'm
love
in
that.
town, I'll show it to you.
Please, yes, let's do it. Let's
Um,
do it.
anyway, the way I got into it is I sold my last education company about 7 years ago, moved back. I lived in Atlanta and in San Francisco, moved to Los Angeles, where I came from Ukraine here. And so what am I going to do? My mom was getting older. Wanted to do my graduate work. So I said, let's see whether I'm employable. I'll go try to get a job. And so I got hired as a chief operating officer and a general manager of a construction company. And so I've always been a developer. So it was like awakening because as a developer, you can just tell contractor what to do. If they do it, great. If they don't, you tell them what needs to be done. But being a contractor, just realize how difficult that business is. And it's just, you can't get anything built on time or in cost, and all the trash that we generate every project. So we started that, my business partner and I started this about 5 years ago. And then 6 months later, we had COVID. So during COVID, we had time because we sent all of our office employees worked from home. Our projects kept going, but really had time to think about it. Because when we started with 3 bullets on the blackboard, kind of what our mission is. One was build faster. Second was build cheaper. Third was less trash, less environmental impact. So we thought, how are we going to accomplish this? And I saw another video from Austin. There was Icon printing homes, right, with cement. So loved the whole idea of 3D printing. Didn't like cement. And cement is not very good for the environment, although there are now ways to minimize this. And more importantly, with cement, you got to bring your printers to the site. So big loss of time in construction happens when there is rain or too hot, too slow, or guys don't show up for work. So our vision was we want to do it in the factory. We want to do it with something but cement. And that's how we said, why not plastic or why not recycle polymers, mix it with fiberglass and some other additives that gives it the structural integrity. Being as contractors, we thought, how can we get approved fast and get it built fast and get approval again when you do it in the factory much faster than doing it on site. You don't have to deal with 20,000 local building departments. You can approve it usually from the state. So for speed, for quality, doing it inside. So it's a little bit of a background.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love the idea of seeing a problem and saying, okay, how can we improve on this? How can we make it better? I think that so many incredible products and solutions come from looking at the problems and trying to make them more efficient. So, for those unfamiliar, can you explain the process of 3D printing? I think we all have an idea of what a 3D printed object is, but the fact that we can 3D print homes, that's a whole other level. That's not just 3D printing like a little paperweight or something. So, can you talk to us about what that looks like?
Sure, Kendall. Yeah, huge technological advancement happened just in the last just in a few years we've been working on this. First 3D printed home from cement was built in 2017 in Europe. That was just 7 years ago, right? When we had our idea, again, the cement printing has been going on 7 years all over the world. But we were hoping we could find a printer that we could just use because we're not necessarily started out as being technologists. We just wanted to build buildings. And we found that it was impossible to find because we wanted to build buildings that are 10 and a half feet high, 20 feet long. We wanted to build modules that we could put together an ADU or a bigger house or a glamping unit. And we just couldn't find something that can build it big enough. So we had to invent our own process. We bought some industrial robots. We bought some equipment that melts plastic, and then we invented a couple of pieces of equipment so that now we can print in one go 20 by 9, 10 and a half feet high structure. And some of our structures are even smaller, 9 by 11 or by 9 by 13. They're easy to transport because the material is much lighter. It's much lighter than wood and, of course, much lighter than cement. So they're very easy to, the way they print, it's layer by layer, like you've seen. It's like a big toothpaste, puts a layer on. And the chemistry about this, or physics around this, is the layer before this new layer goes on has to be in a semi-liquid state so that the next layer attaches to it. Because if it's going to be too hard, then it can't attach. If it's going to be too liquid, it'll actually leak off. So that's the material science behind it. And this new equipment that's available now, it can put out 120 pounds of material an hour. So you can build a 3,000, 4,000 square feet structure in under 24 hours. So really, the timing, people say timing is everything, but in this case, it really was, it was just the technology was not available when we started thinking about it. And so it moved along with what was happening in the industry.
Yeah, that is remarkable. So many, just being able to produce something so quickly is just such a value. One of the things that just really ignited my creativity when I first heard you speak about 3D printing homes is we here on this podcast, most of our audience members are doing something in land, whether they're developing or they're flipping or they're doing something, but we always start with this blank slate of land. And how many times have I looked at land and said, okay, this is a blank slate. What could we do here? I would love to do maybe a tiny home village or something like that. And we all know that can take tons of time. It can take a lot of financial resources. So what I'd love to hear from you is what opportunities or what are some of the biggest opportunities do you see that exist for land flippers or land developers using this 3D printed technology?
Yeah. No, that's why I was so excited to see you, because in my mind, one of the first deals I did in Atlanta, it really catapulted me, was a great land flip. So I'll tell you a little bit about it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I put 82 acres under contract. It didn't have sewer, it didn't have roads, but I've heard the news that there is going to be mall going up about a mile, less than a mile away.
Oh,
I put it
okay.
under contract, and they got a year to with option prices to keep at it. In my mind, especially when when the interest rates are high, and that was the same at that time, you got to add value. Yeah, there might be a deal where you just hear of a great deal and then flip it for a lot less. But in most instances in real estate, you got to add value.
For
So in
sure.
my instance, it was not just hearing about that mall, but over that year, making monthly payments. And believe me, it was every time first of the month came, I sometimes till the last day didn't know how we're going to do it, but I knew I had a great deal. We basically, and it took us a year. We designed the road. We worked with the authority there to pull sewer. By the time we had all the permits, we flipped half of that property for the price I paid for the whole 80 acres. So I ended up with 40 acres free and clear,
Free and
right?
clear. Best kind of way.
It was like a $1.5 million done in a year without putting a lot of money. I can't remember what deposits were, maybe $100,000. But the key though is we create a lot of value. The guy who bought from us the other 40 acres, he pulled the permit in 60 days because we had roads, we had sewer, we had all of that. So how do you do that? It was a unique situation, but it really took, in addition to all the deposits, it took a bunch of money on engineering and time and timing. So what we are able to be a resource for your listeners and for your meetup is you could have an idea, just like what you said, a micro village. You could, especially in Texas, but in many other places, you could buy land that's already zoned. It might have already a septic. It might already be ready for a glamping resort or RV park. Actually, I just met a guy in Florida. He bought an old RV park and the golf course, shut down the golf course, flipping two pieces of land for apartments, and they're going to create 60 more units on that old golf course of our units. But he is just closed on the land and he's buying our units to move in October. So what, 3-4 months ago, because while he is doing the infrastructure and permits, I can be printing in my factory. The moment he is ready, I'm going to have units there. And so that was not possible before. I'm talking about some bigger deals, but you could take a smaller deal. Again, in my mind, put a big enough property where you can have some development of your own, flip the balance, right? What you flip is funding your development, and now you have passive income. And it's so much easier. I find that it's so much easier to finance something that can generate income where it's just a land. Because if a deal goes bad, but you basically can start working on a small development, tiny home village, glamping resort. What happens with RV parks is people put all the utilities. You pull electric and water and septic, and then we can pull one of our units on wheels, install in half a day. So what the speed is that always been absent in real estate. Real estate is just by definition highly regulated, takes a long time. And what our developments can do is add the speed. The other example is somebody bought a piece of land here in San Diego and they just bought 3 units from us, but they don't even have sewer there. They're going to bring portable bathrooms and have little units that can be like much better than a tent, right? They're well insulated. They look very pretty. They're going to build out like a wine resort. Back to timing. It takes us just a day to print the unit. If the unit doesn't have water or sewer, just electric, we can finish it in 5 days. The unit that was all the water, sewer, electric, air conditioning takes 3 to 4 weeks. So the speed is just incredible bonus that you and your team here can make this happen. And in my mind, I really just believe that the best land flips are where you create value, where it's more than just buying and reselling. That will work. We will get lower interest rates again. That will work again. But when the interest rates are high and the lenders are cautious, think of it: how can I either sell the land with the permits or sell some of the land and leave the rest for me to develop a small project?
Absolutely. No, that is the wheels were just turning in my brain hearing how quickly these things can go up. And so one of the things that does come to mind is, let's say you're buying a property that's off grid. It doesn't have electricity, it doesn't have water. What can your 3D printed homes, how can that provide a solution for that type of land situation?
Yeah. So for no electricity, that's an easy solution because our units are very well insulated to begin with. And now you can put a solar with a battery and it'll work beautifully. We have a number of customers who've done it. Just absolutely no issue. Again, the reason we can do it is the units are very well insulated. We print and it's R30 all the way around, not just on the roof. Traditional construction, you have or even 3D printed construction, when you print on site, you have a slab. Slab is a cement is poor insulator to begin with. So you might have, I don't know, R10 on the floor, R19 on the walls, R30 on the ceiling. We have R30 all the way around. So that's a solution. Septic, you still need to have. Now, there are some solutions that allow portable septic. There's a small septic that's built. It's not, again, if it's a real small project, maybe up to 6 units, you could do that. And then water, again, water we find that it's not as much of a problem because water tables are usually pretty high. So really drilling a well in many places, even like in the desert, is an easy option. We're working with one company that has this atmospheric water where they basically take air and pump water out of it, but it's not enough for bathroom and it will create enough drinking water. You could have a tank with the water. Again, what our solution does is if you're creative, and of course you guys are entrepreneurs, you can make some very quick. And quite honestly, I've been developing for all these years. I love helping my clients. I love seeing their vision, seeing that light bulb go off, and I'm in the midst of all the innovation. So if I hear about things, I easily share. I just want to have more of our units out there and more people enjoying these beautiful units in the middle of nowhere. So
Yeah, that opens up so many possibilities. When you can think about, okay, you can literally put one of these units in just about anywhere, the middle of nowhere, like you just mentioned. One of the other questions that comes to mind is, can you talk a little bit about what is the difference between, let's say, one of your units to like a mobile home? Hey, land fans, looking for your tribe of serious land investors? Join thousands of your fellow land lovers in the Only Land Fans Facebook group. We're talking real deals, expert strategies, and game-changing connections you won't find anywhere else. This isn't just another real estate group. This is the community where land investors come to level up. Join us at OnlyLandFansGroup.com and join the conversation today. That's OnlyLandFansGroup.com. See you there.
yeah, very good question. Number of differences. First of all, they look good. We have curves in our buildings. They look sexy.
Hey, sexy sells. That's important.
It sure does. And I've always said affordable housing does not need to look ugly. And the reality is a 2x4 limits your structure to be square or rectangular. If you're doing in traditional construction and try to do any kind of curves, again, Austin, Dallas have some beautiful high-rise buildings. Whenever you see curves, those are expensive buildings. Generally, it takes 3x the amount of money to build a building with some curves and some pizzazz versus square buildings. Our buildings, you can accomplish this for the same cost. It costs nothing. You push the button, it'll print the square or it'll print. So look is number one. Number two is trailer industry hasn't had innovation in 50 years. And they look at it. They really are not very attractive. And they have all the things we've talked about. They're not well insulated. Again, I'm not going to draw the whole, I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule. But especially there are some old ones. So again, the same customer in Florida who is buying existing RV, because my initial reaction is, I'm glad to sell you new units, but can't you remodel your existing? They have trailers and mobile units. The price of your unit is less expensive than for me to remodel what I have. A lot of these old mobile homes are just falling apart. And there have been a lot of improvements in energy. So we use traditional doors and windows, for example, and double pane door and window will save so much energy. So really, cost of buying a new one versus buying our new one is very comparable. We're a little bit less expensive, but operating cost and the aesthetics and the speed, just it really is a huge difference.
That's fantastic. So I know that you mentioned earlier, it sounded like there were some units that, or you had a unit or two that was on wheels. Are they all on wheels, or some of them can be put on slabs, or how does that work?
They can be done either way. Yeah, the ones we actually just exhibited last week at Texas Association of Campground Owners in Houston, and we brought the unit on wheel, and people loved it because it really just rolls up. We had a pickup truck pull it up because it's so light. The structure is 12,000 pounds. Pickup trucks sometimes way more than that, and it takes half a day to install it. But we have exactly the same unit that can be attached to foundations. So if somebody has foundations, now the process takes longer. You've got to get a permit from the local authority to put the foundation to put the utilities but that's also possible. But now you're looking at 6 to 12 months. So something on wheels can be just rolled up, connected, and then we have a electric panel with a plug, So very, yeah.
That is very cool. It's just so exciting to hear about the opportunities because there are so many people that are moving away from these metro areas and they want maybe to have a primary residence or maybe a second home that's somewhere out in the country. And so this now sounds like this is opening up a whole lot of opportunities to be able to put these types of homes in the middle of nowhere or on property that maybe not would have supported a traditional home in the future or at some point in the
No,
past. So
totally agree. So there are two things happening, actually. There are people who want to move away, and then there are people who want to go for the weekend somewhere where it's beautiful in nature. It could be a romantic weekend for a couple. It could be a family vacation for a family, where hotels are now so expensive. I've done a ton of them. You have too, I know. The hotels are just really, even Airbnbs, by the time you pay all the fees. So what's happening is travel is on the way up. We've all been sitting in COVID without travel, so it's on the way up. And the cost of just jumping in the car, driving somewhere a couple hours away in a beautiful place, and then staying in this terrific place, the cost is just a huge advantage. But living too, people want to get away and work virtually, so all of that is possible.
that is so cool. And you mentioned cost, and that was going to be my next question. Talk to us a little bit about what does one of these units cost? What can we look at or expect when it comes to actually the financing of these things?
Yeah. So they are depending on, of course, finishes. But the beauty is people can go on our configurator. I had a customer here just 2 hours ago who came in, bought the unit, and paid the deposit. It was like, wow. What we found out is he went on the configurator yesterday and picked all of his choices. It's like buying a Tesla. He picked all the colors. Really, our director of sales had a short meeting with him, but he made all the choices on the web, azureprintedhomes.com. Go make all the choices. Total transparent pricing, Kendall. I hate the hassle that happens when dealing with a contractor. Just I am allergic to it. It's look at the price, see how much it is. And so depending on the options, they start the units that go on foundation, like a little one that's just a studio that can be like a campground. It's 20 grand, less than half the car.
Yeah.
The one that goes with the bathroom and the kitchen that goes on the foundation starts at 40. The one that comes with the chassis starts at 50, 49.9. But the beauty is now you don't have to deal with foundations. They're very reasonable. What happens per square foot, it might seem a little high, but what you find is when the size of the house increases, the cost per square foot goes down. It's tough to do small unit at a low price because you need a kitchen, no matter what size. You need a bathroom, you need a shower. But for short-term rental, again, the best example I can give you is with a customer in Big Sur, which is it's closer to Northern California. And he bought some land. He and his wife bought some land some time ago, and they have this tents. They're totally off grid. They don't have sewer. They don't have electric. They don't even allow electric vehicles to come there because they just don't have enough power to charge them.
Wow.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Sustainable development. So he took a $40,000 unit. He said, I want every option. I want the best finishes. I want the solar with a battery. The resort is called Three Bones. And we installed it there. So the unit goes for 40. He spent 60 on it and built a nice deck and a little spa right outside of it. He rents it for $750 a night. He's getting
Wow.
his money back in 120 days. How about that?
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah. Talk about
so,
speed.
so yeah, talk about literally speed, and he loves it because they had some pretty hard winds. We never had in California. We never had hurricane winds, but sure enough, with this climate changing, I don't know what causes it, but something is changing, right?
Something's
And the
happening.
winds were very high. But, right, something happened. It was 95 miles an hour, which is lower than what it is in Texas, but a lot of the other structures or tents or stuff like this didn't do as well as our unit. It's still there. It looks beautiful. Yeah, it's the prices are reasonable and we are growing. So, as you read in my bio, we made our first prototype 2 years ago. We started manufacturing a year ago. We were so overwhelmed with demand that we moved in a much larger facility. So our office is still not finished yet, but when talking a couple of months from now, it'll be much nicer, but still, we love it here. So we've tripled our capacity. We now have 3D printers. And I am on a mission to put these units around the country. And that's why this unit that is in Houston today, next week is moving to Orlando and then going to Nashville, Virginia. We're going to be a National Innovation Showcase. HUD and Home Builders Association picked us to be at a national mall first week of June. Colorado selected us to open a facility, another plant in Denver. So we're going to be a little bit closer to Texas. Our vision is by 25, we'll have a plant in every time zone. So we'll be in Central and Eastern time zones. In order for people to experience what we have, I'm subsidizing the shipping costs. So it's like when people say, wow, it's expensive to ship. I said, don't worry about shipping. Just assume the plant is in Dallas and you're buying it in Austin. That's going to be the cost. So I really want to get some units out there. I'm also open to doing to open up like an alliance program, because if somebody say, look, I can't finance the whole thing. I can maybe finance 70%. I might put in the rest as equity and we do a JV. Let's try it. Let's put it out. Let's make this work. Because what we find is that people who are already staying in our units already out there, they're the best buyers because they're now experiencing the unit. So not
Yeah.
only can you kind of do owner financing, really, it's more of a JV, right? We'll share the revenue. But then every time you sell a unit, we'll give you a QR code. Everybody who sells the unit will give you a commission. So it's
Wow.
and it allows you to start small. Yeah. No, I've learned all about Alliance from that mastermind that you and I
Yeah.
attended. There are guys who are doing all kind of partnerships, and it's an exciting time. And I have capacity. We're pretty well funded. We've raised $5 million last year and doing another raise right now. So I'll also be able to share if your folks might be interested to become our partners and as well.
Absolutely. That is fantastic. We'll definitely get your information in the show description. That way we can get all of those links. That way if they want to reach out to you, do some type of alliance project, affiliate commission, we'll get all of that information in the show description for sure. And that sounds like remarkable opportunity right there. So for people that are
Well,
listening to this,
look, what I don't have land. I don't have what you guys have. Land deals. I have the buildings. So that makes it for a perfect partnership.
absolutely. Perfect partnership. So someone's listening to this and they're like, I want to get into development, but I don't have like all of the resources and capital that I need to do the traditional route. This is an opportunity to get your foot in the door with, a
Yeah.
really fast growing industry.
Yeah, here's one other advantage of unit on wheels is they're much easier to get financing. Now you don't have to have a real estate lender. You could have a lease lender. So we just sold a 30-unit development in Joshua Tree, and they finance the whole. They're buying the land. I might talk to your people because they're trying to finance the land and improvements, but the units themselves are financed through an equipment lease because all of these units have a title. So they got a very inexpensive, like 42 months financing. And in 42 months, when the resort is going up and doing well, then they'll refinance the whole thing. So yet
Wow.
another advantage. Yeah.
If you're enjoying this episode of the Only Land Fans podcast, please let us know by subscribing and leaving a review. Now let's get back to the action. Love creative financing around here. So many different ways to skin the cat, which is so cool.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Gene, you mentioned earlier about the winds. I know that's one thing that people may think 3D printed homes, how durable are they? Can you talk a little bit about that? Listen up, land fans. This is huge. We're bringing you the one and only Pace Morby, star of A&E's Triple Digit Flip and the mastermind behind $450 million in real estate deals. He's coming to our virtual meetup on Thursday, December 5th to share how he's applying his creative financing genius to land deals. Head to olfmeetup.com to save your spot today. That's olfmeetup.com. This is the kind of opportunity that changes everything.
Yeah, we really just being as contractors, that was a huge advantage of starting in this over being technologists who want to do building homes. You know, we're builders who wanted to bring technology. For example, we work with ANSI, which is American National Standards Institute, which is the highest accreditation agency for this park models. And they totally approved our units. And they approved lots of this park models, mobile homes. That just tells you that these units are very high quality. Plastic, unfortunately or fortunately, lasts for a very long time. Fortunately for this unit, unfortunately for our planet, it really is. You can see people find plastic everywhere, and it's still there. So the only thing that could deteriorate is UV. So we put a UV stabilizer in the product, so you don't have to worry about fading or any of that. We add the fiberglass because fiberglass is a material that's now even replaces iron rods in the foundation. So it's very strong. It's very light. So it's really the whole structure is solid. The other thing is, I was explaining to you how we print roof, walls, and the floor. It's one solid structure, so the roof will not be flying off when there is a high wind. And then we can attach it. We attach it to a raised foundation. So even in the areas that experience sometimes floods, you can raise a foundation and put it up a little bit out of the flood zone. So again, lots of either foundation, or you can bring the unit on wheel and tie it down so it sits up higher. So really, this solution is very durable. It's look, 100 years ago, when you wanted to get from one place to another, you had to get a horse and a buggy and get there, right? Today,
Right.
we get around in EVs. 100
Yeah.
years ago, when you wanted to build a house, you had to find a carpenter and a hammer and a nail. And if you want to do the same thing today, it's still the same thing. You got to find a carpenter, hammer, and nail. Only there are no good carpenters left. So home building is just prime for disruption and innovation. And so while we're sitting here and talking, wow, this is a new way to do it, I really envision 5, 10 years from now, especially the teenagers who are coming up right now. My kids don't know what fax is. Teenagers will not know what a hammer is. I
Wow.
really
Yeah.
think it's that kind of a transformational change.
That's really incredible. And just the opportunities for innovation and how that's going to just completely change the land. Perfect word, disruption, right? It's a disruptor to the industry, which is
Yeah. And
fascinating.
also an opportunity for small entrepreneurs. And how can a small entrepreneur develop a 30-unit development? It's like the people who are developing in Joshua Tree are just small entrepreneurs. They put 10 acres under contract. They're paying like $500,000. Between them, they raise the money, and now they can put the whole development up. Traditionally, you need to have public companies do that, and now you can just move quicker. You don't need to have working capital to hold this for a long time, and just can build it, rent it, flip it, move on.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. I know that you mentioned that there are several different use cases for the types of people that are coming to buy these properties. What I'd love to do is see if you could dig in a little bit more to see exactly what types of buyers are looking for this. What are you seeing in your data? Who are you selling to? Are these families or these? Can you just talk to us about that? What does the buyer market
Sure.
look like?
Yeah. We have 3 buckets. So on the high end, I don't call it high end, but a lot of action is happening in this glamping
Mm.
RV park space, because people, like we just talked about, you can they can buy nicer units, they can move very quickly. The other thing is sometimes they buy units without the bathrooms and then just use them as almost like a tent, right? If they have joint bathrooms. So that's also very popular, and that's even faster. Mainline, where I think longer term, where our future is going to be, is building homes and ADUs. Again, our units are not perfect for a large mansion, right? But for a home that's maybe under 1,000 square feet, something smaller, more affordable, it's perfect. We also can't go two-story yet. We're working on a solution to be able to go in mid-rise, high-rise, but that's probably a year away. But that's where most of the inquiry is coming in ADUs and homes. ADUs, accessory dwelling units, they're popular here in California, and they're spreading around the country. This is where you can put a home in your backyard, and you can use it either for your family member, older parents, kids coming back, or a rental. In California, you can do it with any property, no matter for zoning. And Colorado just passed a law just like that 2 days ago. Maine has a law like this. Oregon, Washington. There are 20 states that have some version of this law. 4 states have just any property with a backyard house. But the other states, sometimes they limit to either specific town or specific part of town.
Wow, that's amazing. That opportunity right there. If you've got large
Oh,
backyard and you live in one of these states that you can monetize your backyard. Forget cutting the grass, put an ADU back there and have an Airbnb or something like that.
yeah, and you already paid for the land. So
Exactly.
the law in California, the first one of this passed in 2020, just when we started thinking about it. Every year it's been improving. So the version that the improvement passed in January 24, you can now sell, you can condominiumize. You can build an ADU in the back and sell it off as a condominium. The
Wow.
shortage here is so severe that they're just trying to make. Oh, and started out with just 1 unit. Then they said you can do 2 units. You can convert a garage and you can build one in the back and don't worry about parking. Now you can do 2 units in the garage. Now you can do apartments, add more units. If people like listening to your show and say, wow, how do I do this? I'm a member of our trade association called Casita Coalition. And the people here are just so creative. So I'll be more than happy to connect with somebody, say, I love this. How can I bring it to my community? I can connect either with people in Colorado or California who can say, here's the law that we've written. And the argument for this is just, yeah, some people say, not in my backyard. But the reality is, if you don't build housing, there's going to be homeless in your backyard. It's like, do you want to have a quality development, or you want to have somebody on the street? And even if you deal with your own family, I have 3 successful kids. They all have businesses, careers. They can't afford a home, and God forbid one of them lose a job. They're in a tough spot. So yeah. And then the third use case is really where our mission. Our mission is to help the homeless situation. LA County alone has 75,000 homeless. Look, I live in a pretty nice area, and you can't walk on the streets. You have to you can't go to the beach without stepping over folks who are just really out of luck. And many people say these people have drug problems, they have mental problems, they have. The reality has been enough studies being done, and I'm really involved in this, is, yeah, they have them now, but they didn't necessarily have them when they ended up on the street. Because when they end up on the street, it's unsafe, it's crazy weather, other crazy people. So we are working with a number of folks, not-for-profits, kind of agencies, to help solution for the homeless. And like in Los Angeles County, they spend $750,000 per unit for the homeless. How does it make sense? Take 750,000 times 75,000. That's a $50 billion. We're going to defend Ukraine with that kind of money. It's like impossible. That's impossible. So now our unit is 20,000. And it's just because people are still thinking the old way, and it's people blame it on different things, but it's just thinking the old way. Okay, we're going to buy this piece of land downtown. We're going to build this high rise. We're going to have union labor, all on and on. It all adds up. And finance cost, where you can there are people living on the streets now. You just take parks. They're occupying the parks. They're occupying the A campus. And so I actually seen social entrepreneurs getting involved. There are a couple not-for-profit. We're actually going to be donating in time for Memorial Day. Going to donate one of our units for the Veterans Homeless Association. They have a woman who finished army and lives on the street, and they want to create a vocational program and have a quality place for her to call home. So I'm passionate about that. And again, capitalism is great, right? We want to make money. I'm from former Soviet Union. I'm all for that. But boy, this homeless crisis, unless we put some entrepreneurial minds to how to solve it, it's not going to be good, because as time goes on, every community, be it warm climate, cold climate, nice area, bad area, is just spreading in a wildfire. We've got to come up with a solution to put the roof over people's heads so that they can now get off drugs, get some treatment, learn how to get a job. There are plenty of jobs in this economy. We need people who want to work. And so that's my social
Yeah.
pitch.
No, that's absolutely beautiful, because it will take creative solutions, and entrepreneurs are some of the most creative thought leaders around. And I think that if we could galvanize our efforts, we could definitely get some serious solutions underway for sure. So I think that's very cool. Those three buckets that you mentioned are the glamping RV types of developers or owners, and then you've got the ADUs, and then finally the homeless type of development.
Like emergency housing. Lost 22. Yeah, they lost 2,200 homes last year. I'm going to be in Istanbul next week. They lost 670,000 homes a year ago in an earthquake. You know how many have been rebuilt? Very few. They just issued permits for about 200,000. So you have all the wars around the globe. We're losing the housing in the US. We have a shortage of under 10 million, but globally, 1.6 billion. 1.6 billion.
Wow.
We're not going to be rebuilding it with a hammer and a nail. It ain't happening. You need to be able to have a bunch of the sprinters working day and night. And they don't take lunch. They don't have to go home to watch a movie. They just work.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So a little bit more about the process, Gene. So are these were printed in sections and then they're shipped in sections, or are they built and then shipped there? Or can you talk to us about what that process looks like?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. Yeah, they're built in sections and shipped in sections, and then they're designed in such a way that it's very easy to assemble on site. Of course, one unit, just half a day, but we just shipped the unit to Palm Springs. It's 900 square feet, and it'll take them 3 days to put together. So
Excellent. And who are the people that are putting it together? Is it someone from your company, or do you have contractors that you work with, or how does that work?
Yeah, in California, we do it ourselves because we're a general contractor here, but in Texas or in other places, it makes sense to hire a local general contractor. We have very detailed guidelines, videos, totally have support. It really is very easy to install compared to building it yourself.
Excellent. Very cool. And what does...
one other thing. They're going to come totally with all they'll come with bathrooms, kitchens, showers, all of that stuff. So you don't need to do wiring, and really just putting them together.
Got it. So the wiring and everything, the plumbing is all there. It's just putting it together and plugging in. Wow.
Yep.
That's incredible. That sounds very cool. So, Gene, wanted to chat with you about what would you consider to be your superpower?
My superpower is really having a vision and bringing it to life. I've done this so many times where, in real estate, it creates real opportunity to just see a piece of land and having a vision how it can be a building or it can be a development. And in business, there is such a great opportunity just having an idea. And listen, I've had some ideas that were total flops. So I'm not perfect by no means. And anybody you meet who says that just everything they've done was successful, don't believe it. Because sometimes you can just go in their own direction. But the superpower is what I've learned in a couple of most successful businesses, to really determine that product market fit. You can have an idea. Before you start making it, are there enough people who want it? And boy, if you see that, execute. And in today's world, it's so much easier to do than 20 or 30 years ago when I started my first business, because now with technology, distributed people, you have people who can help you. So that's what I would say.
I love that. What's your definition of success?
Definition of success, either in business or in personal life, is really just a little bit back to the first question. You have a vision and you can bring it to life. You want to get up in the morning. So back to, I just love getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to do something real special. There's so many people in this world who struggle morning, day, and night. And by the end of the day today, look, I started at 6 a.m. and where I'm doing the show. It's now almost 5 here. I'm going to have a dinner with my college buddy. So I'm going to have a full day. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to be excited about this because I might have some other ideas. I have some ideas from you, some ideas from this guy who came here 2 hours ago, and for the first time, somebody who just rolled in and said, I'm ready. You don't need to tell me to finish this. I know what they are. And we just launched this website just 3 weeks ago. So this really first customer who it worked the way we intended it to.
That's
So
awesome.
really, yeah. So in my mind, success it really is just having a happy life. And a happy life in my mind is having a vision, having a passion, not work all the time. I play hard and I work hard. But when I'm at work, I'm going to make something happen. When I'm at play, look, I was in Hong Kong 2 weeks ago. I'm going to Turkey on Friday. I'm going to Mauritius, which is east of Africa, the week after things. And in all of these places, people want to talk about our technology. So I love it. And some of
Yeah,
them even pay for my trip. So that's really nice.
even better, even better.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Just the power of having a vision, like you said, I think that you said that beautifully. Just waking up and having something that you're excited to do. I think that is so important. That at least lights me up as well.
And you need to have some good routines. I really recommend having a routine for your morning. I mean, most successful people I know follow a very kind of routine for the morning and for the evening, how you start the day, how you end the day. And then secondly, think about how to create generational wealth. That's what's driving me now. I really, like I said, I have 3 kids and they're all helping me in different areas. One of my oldest is a chair of our board. He works for his big software company, the biggest software companies. He worries about our security. Our youngest has a BPO. I get virtual assistants from him. My middle one is a musician, and he is helping some of these glamping resorts how to create music venues. So I have
Wow.
terrific kids. I love them. They're not great. But I also want to create something where they're not going to be on a paycheck to paycheck. I want to create. This concept of generational wealth is really important because when you don't have to worry and work 12 hours a day and worry about your paycheck, you can have so much creativity. And when you want to do good things for people, I couldn't donate units to the homeless if I wouldn't have the money to do it. In my mind, it's having the resources to help people. So making money is a good thing if you are then going to say, I'm going to take this money and make something purposeful. And the world goes around. And if you do that, then it just goes on and on. So.
Yeah, that's so fantastic. You strike me as a very passionate person, Gene. So you've already shared several of your passions, but I just want to ask you, what are the things that light you up the most? What just makes you feel like your best self?
I love young people like you who are doing this. I love seeing. I've been in education before. I'm really impressed with young people who are just driving it. So I don't know that answered the question. And with all the people are critical of America and all of it. And look, we're not perfect by any means, but America is still the place where you can have that vision and an idea and bring it to it's happening. So I was in Hong Kong. I was entrepreneurs from 45 countries, and just hearing their stories, how difficult to open a checking account. It's just the things we don't think about,
Right, right.
or how difficult it is to get a permit or get some connection, or they need a connection to make a connection. And so America is still just the best place on earth. And yeah, what lights me up is seeing young people It's also become very diverse. I've met some incredible entrepreneurs from men, women, Hispanic, African American. I really think this land is available. Anybody who's willing to work hard. Look, I came here with no English, no money, no papers. The old-fashioned way. I was a refugee. My family
Wow.
had $400 for four of us, but we just soaked in. And 2 years later, I was selling real estate, and 3 years later, I was developing condos. So that's impossible anywhere else. That's impossible. So I really think that just youth who is like focused and have some good guidance and have some mentors. That's what's good. We have lots of crises, but we also have so much energy, and I think that's what America has been great at. Let's figure out what the issue is. We're going to come up with a solution. When environment was a big issue, we started producing EV cars. We're now sucking carbon out of air. We're going to come up with a solution to environment. Now housing, we got to find a solution. Our education system is not good. Online learning, charter schools, vouchers. If something that has been working for many years and it doesn't work, to try to do more of it or spend money on it is not a solution. We got to do something different, right? So.
Absolutely. No, completely agree with you. And thank you for sharing a little bit of your story about being a refugee. I know that you did a lot of work with refugees as well. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So right after we came here, this was still when it was part of the Soviet Union. My principle was to bring the rest of our family out, but there were so many people coming, and I didn't like the way our resettlement handled, because even people who were resettling us would point us to resources. You can go state money here, local money here. So what I did is I put together was a bunch of volunteers. So look, you're not gonna access any federal money. You do that, I'm gonna turn you in. You're not allowed to do that. We're gonna help you for the first 90 days. I had apartments. I had a buddy who had rental furniture. I had somebody else that created this free loan for people to buy cars. We get vacations. Look, first 90 days, learn the English, get a job, and don't rely on government to help you. And it was miraculous. So we resettled 6,000 people to Atlanta, Georgia. At that time, very few people were coming to Atlanta. And I thought that would be the end of my resettlement experience. And of course, now what's going on with people. But it was also different. Families were coming now. People from Ukraine, a lot of women with children come. It's just so heartbreaking. And it's over what? It's like, why is this happening to us? But again, even that, the way you set up a resettlement program for refugees, the way you treat refugees, treat them with respect, but also let them take advantage of America. Taking advantage of America but getting welfare check is not an advantage. That just puts you on poverty track, right? And so really, I really like immigrants, refugees. I think we should let them all in, but let them do it the old-fashioned way. Let them make the money and contribute to the economy. And if they can't, let them get out. And there's nothing wrong. Look, our family sat for 6 months in Europe, bouncing around, waiting for permission to come in. We had other people. My dad just said, look, we're coming in a new country. Let's do it right. Let's just wait. And we got permission, and it all worked out.
Wow, such an empowering approach is giving people the tools to be able to empower themselves, to be able to make a living and make a life, and not only that, but thrive, right? Not just survive. That's absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing that with us. Let me ask you, Gene, what has been one of the biggest surprises that you've had in your real estate career?
Yeah, the surprises, and this surprise, unfortunately, going to continue to happen, is change in interest rates. Really, we started developing in the 80s, and when the rates went up, they didn't go up to, what are they now, 6%? Everybody complaining about, they went to 19%. That was that was bad.
Oh my.
And the second thing, when you're in real estate, you always have to look for factors like tax law changes and overbuilding. That's why the most dangerous thing in real estate is the time it takes to develop a project. You could have a great idea, the interest rate is 2%, and you can buy and flip. So that's the danger in real estate, is you're buying something highly leveraged, or you're developing something highly leveraged, and at the same time, the timing might kill you. So that's been really changes in rates and tax laws and overbuilding, the whole finance structure. So I really would encourage people especially when they start out, don't take on long-term projects. Come up with a way, put under contract. I'd rather make a little bit less money, but get out and make money than to try to make a killing and wait until it'll kill you, because we can't predict interest rates. We can't predict tax laws. We can't predict anything. Just
Right.
in, out on the next deal.
Yeah, that is a fantastic piece of advice. Wow. So that worth the price of the admission right there, Gene. Thanks for sharing that. That was really good. So speaking of advice, if you could go back and tell yourself three pieces of advice when you first got started, what would they be?
Yeah, I would do it like we talked about. Find smaller deals. I really think you learn on smaller deals, right? Number two, have a good mentor. And the mentor might be somebody who has done this before, have some experience in some aspect, because not everybody can do everything. So if you're expert in construction, find somebody who's expert in financing. We started out with my brother, and my brother was still very handy. So he was a contractor. I could focus on financing and zoning. And my business partner now is the same kind of, he is his master's in engineering. I have an MBA. That makes look for different people. And then thirdly, I really think you should explore innovation even in finance. There's so much stuff going in crowdfunding. 2 years ago, if you were to tell me 2.5 years ago that I would go crowdfund the company, I would say that's insane. Only somebody who doesn't have experience. Look, I've already done VC-backed deals. I've raised $20 million from VCs. I've sold to public companies. I said, was my experience not going to be necessary? And we beat our head against the wall. First of all, we funded all of the R&D ourselves, because in this country, people don't want to fund manufacturing. It's like in the US, people love software, right? They love fintech solutions. You go to China, they only want to find manufacturing. Forget about all this software. We will make it, and we'll figure out how to make it a lot cheaper. I just came from Hong Kong and Shenzhen, and you go, the robotics and EVs. Listen, our EV manufacturers are in trouble because they're doing beautiful cars for like fraction of the cost. But anyway, so for manufacturing, it was hard to find. VC market dried out, and I started on a crowdfunding. And we raised the initial $1 million from 1,000 investors. Investment as small as $250. Then we raised the next $4 million from 40 people at 100,000 apiece. So here we are, happy, $5 million raised. Should it be easier? We closed it around in November. What is it now? April? As hard as it was before. So we're starting another crowdfunding round. So we're on wefounder.com/Azure, raising money. A lot of the same people who invested before are now upping. And again, I just know we now have sales. I know what we can do. And I'm talking up to anybody who wants to invest. They don't have to be accredited investors. So for real estate, there is going to be a lot of crowdfunding could work. Tokenization of real estate, I think, needs to happen. I've met some people who are working on that. So really look at innovation, good partner, and mentor. And smaller project. Those are the three.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Gene, are there any authors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs that you like to read or follow or study? Who do you like? Who are some of the thought leaders that you like to follow?
So this will age me, but people ask this question, and so when I came to this country, Milton Friedman, who is now dead, but he is a Nobel Prize laureate. He wrote a book called Free to Choose. That was the first book I read when I came to this country. And since then, I met him and his wife, and they signed my book.
Wow.
Give it a read. It's been written, I think it's been published like 40 years ago. It still works. Free to Choose. And it talks about he was a father of just capitalism. Not capitalism, just instead of waiting on the government to make decisions for us, if you give people choices, they'll make the right choices. So
Wow.
It's a little bit outdated, but boy, I've reread it. It used to be new. I bought that book new. It's now a little bit looks a little bit dated. But I really recommend. You don't hear it among all the popular movements, but sometimes you find something that withstood the test of time. And Milton was
Absolutely.
he was like short. I think he was like 4'11".
Oh my
His
gosh,
wife
that's
was even
super short.
shorter. They came from, I think, they're like Nazi concentration camp survivors. He was talked with
Wow.
this heavy accent. I think they're from Germany. And the brilliant guy, just brilliant guy. You know.
That's definitely going on my reading list. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really good stuff. Gene, I want to thank you for being so generous with your time. This has been such a pleasure just hearing about all the innovation opportunities that you are creating in the real estate space and all of the problems that you are solving. And so there's just I have so much excitement around this because I really do love to see creativity blending with business. That's always my sort of my zone that lights me up. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being a guest on the show and sharing all of your fantastic insights. What connections or resources are you currently looking for? Like, how can our audience give back to you now?
Again, I mentioned crowdfunding. WeFounder.com/Azure. We're raising. The raise is gonna go on just for another maybe 6 weeks. Minimum investment is $250, but people
Wow.
invest much bigger amounts. It doesn't have to be accredited. Then affiliates. I want to find people who can think of either buying our unit and selling the units and make a commission, or partnering with us. So really, we need customers and we need investors. So other than those two things, we're good.
Excellent. And if someone wants to connect with you to talk about a potential affiliate situation or some type of partnership, how can they reach out to you?
Gene at AzurePrintedHomes.com. So GENE at AzurePrintedHomes.com.
Excellent. And we'll have that in the show notes as well. Thank you so much, Gene. Thanks so much, everyone. Gene, again, thank you. This has been absolutely phenomenal. So exciting. I can't wait to connect with you even more and get some deals done together and make some magic happen.
Let's do it, Kendall. Good luck to you and to all your fans.
Awesome. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon, Gene. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Catch you next week. Bye-bye. If you're interested in hearing from other seven-figure land flippers about how they've started and run their businesses, then join us at OnlyLandFans.com. Looking forward to seeing you there.